We welcome you inside our studios. Here it is Game Time Live, the Friday night edition. Stern, Smitty, Stan Van, and we also welcome you to what we're calling the Steve Smith Telethon. Because he's been on the air how many hours in a row already?
I'm just doing basketball. I'm ready, Casey. I've got you.
You know, normally they haze the rookies, is what I hear. And Stan, I love the pinstripes, and we're smiling because we haven't done anything yet. Smitty, we've been watching, though. It's been wonderful.
It's been good. It's been some good, bad basketball.
Yes. I was going to say.
It's been interesting.
After the Spurs game, it was as the announcers, so I think really rightfully put, I can't believe someone won this game.
I know.
Because really that's kind of how it worked. The Knicks, they've only won 4 of those. We could start there because I've avoided having to talk about this all day. Can't wait to get your takes, Smitty. Obviously the big news, Fizz is out. Interim Mike Miller, at least for now, is in. The bad start, the back-to-back 30-plus point losses, last one by 37 points. Seemed inevitable, but what was your take on the firing today? And just in total, how Fizz was brought in and now how he finds his way out.
You know, we all get hired to get fired, but what I didn't like, Stan and Casey, was this rumbling was about 3 weeks ago. And I'm saying is it didn't look like he lost the team. You had players talking about it. And what was he supposed to do? And I think you got to give a guy more than 23 games, but especially not even for me, Stan, it was 23 games. You started talking about it about 3 weeks ago, and when they had some injuries, guys in and out. I know this business is tough, but I think the one thing is in our league, you got to start looking at some of these presidents, GMs, basketball operation, whatever the titles are now. I get confused. Whoever's in charge, because ownership, this is some of the guys I think they also have to take a deep look into themselves.
Stan, what is it like going through the process when you know you're being asked to make lemonade out of lemons, and that's easy when you're selling them for, charity or for the school on the corner and you're 8. It's not easy at this level in the NBA. How frustrating is that process that Fizz just went through the last few weeks, even knowing what was coming?
Listen, what's frustrating, I think Dave Fizdale would tell you, is when you're not on the same page in the organization. Look, you go through tough times. Guys hurt or you don't have a good team. Yeah, that's hard. But if you're all in it together, that's a workable situation. You're trying to get better. But when you're fighting each other, look, it's hard enough to win in the NBA because the other teams are good. But when you're fighting each other, which they've been doing in this organization for a long time, and you don't have a vision for how you want to play, you have no discernible culture or organizational values, and you just keep looking for the next guy to blame to keep your own job, it's not going to work.
Well, what is work right now for me, but also is a graphic which will be basically, Smitty, this is your life of my last 20 years. The family at the table all the way to the left, they're the last time that it was appropriate to call anything the Mecca, because really St. John's doesn't play there much anymore, and no one wants to see them play there much anymore. The Big East tournament's not the Big East. I mean, there is still, I believe, Disney on Ice.
You know what I would love to see in the last 20 seasons?
A win?
How many? Well, a win for if you're a Knicks fan. But how many players and coaches have gone through this turnstile?
Yeah, they place no value on continuity. Eric Spoelstra hit it on the head earlier tonight talking about this. Obviously, Dave Fizdale, a former assistant of his. It takes time to build something in the NBA. And if you look at the best organizations, San Antonio being at the top of that, Miami, Utah, there is stability there. Okay, they're not just dependent on the next great player to come through. They have a culture, they build something, they know the kind of guys that fit there. It helps your scouts and your front office. It works like that. The teams that are constantly turning over, like the New York Knicks, it's tough. I mean, think of a young guy like Frank Ntilikina, okay, who's been criticized. It's hard enough adjusting. He's coming over from Europe to play. He's already on his 3rd coach. Every coach has different expectations, a different role. He has no idea what to do. Now he's got to adjust again with Mike Miller. This is not a way to develop players or build an organization.
And Stan, to take it another step, you said 3rd coach, but you guys have assistants. So he's listened to probably about 18 different voices on development, plays, style, and what he should be doing. Because it goes from head coach and assistant coaches as well.
Well, there's a lesson to be learned. Having Van Gundy's good is not. 12 coaches, 3 interim, 9 full-timers since Jeff was gone, and looked like, I mean, he had been on air for about like 40 years in a row by the time that thing got done. But you talk about common denominators, right? Everybody goes to Jim Dolan and talks about the ownership. But look, Steve Mills is there as well. And I think when you think about relationships, autonomy is something, and you know this having been in the role, that you're looking for. And really none of the guys that go there seem to be able to have their own kind of pieces in the puzzle, Smitty, that they can go in and say, okay, here's what I think we need to do, because they have to work with someone who's already there. And then you've got Dolan who's already there. And how are you supposed to create continuity if you're not giving the keys to the car to the guy who's coming in to drive?
Well, and I look at ownership, and, you know, rightfully so. When you buy something, you own it. It's yours, and you can pretty much have a say. But if you want it to be successful, you got to get out of the way. That's just me. If you're not a basketball guy, and it might be some owners, and I'm not going to say they're basketball knowledge, but if you're not a basketball guy, you got to get out of the way. Next in line, you got to go who's running the organization. And you don't win basketball games. But look at the Brooklyn Nets. They were losing games, Stan, the last 2 years. Sitting here for those 2 years before this, I kept saying they're still playing the right way.
Yep.
Yes.
They're playing the right way.
Culture.
Everybody's looking at they're playing the right way. Long as you're playing the right way, you're not losing. You're losing the right way. And people say, what do you mean? They're playing hard. They're losing games at the end of games because they don't have enough talent. And now they have enough talent. Now you'll get a chance to see the difference. But you hang on until you get that culture set and you start to get things to change for you. Get a break.
Yeah, I mean, look, just because I know different sport, but the Islanders for many years, I mean, almost as long as the Knicks, terrible franchise, not winning, they bring in a guy who ran the Devils with the Cups, the coach who won with the Caps. Guess what? Great year last year, record-setting start for the franchise this year. When you have continuity, think of anywhere you want. Here in Atlanta, I think about Sherholtz and Bobby Cox in baseball. When you think about the parallel line, and I know that it's not always, Stan, agreements in everything. You need that devil's advocate. How much is that trust factor playing in everything an organization does when you know as a coach, guy above you, guy below you, player, trusts you, same thing, GM, president on up?
That's exactly what you need to be successful. You know, where everybody knows. Look, it was obvious to every player in that Knick locker room 3 weeks ago that people in the organization were not on the same page. So what you're asking the players to do is buy in. To buy into what? You guys can't even get together. It's impossible to get buy-in. Look, continuity matters. You know, we've brought up several examples. Look at the Denver Nuggets, okay? First 3 years of Michael Malone, their defense really bad. Go to 10th last year, first this year. They stayed with the same players, the same coach. They're building through. Remember when they missed the playoffs on the last day of the regular season 2 years ago?
Minnesota got in, yep.
I hate to say it, but a team like New York would have fired the coach on that. Instead of Denver saying, hey, okay, it's disappointing, but we're building. We're going to keep getting better, and things do get better. You're not giving your players, especially these young guys, a chance to develop in New York, and I don't understand why it keeps failing, these 1 and 2 year terms for your coaches, and yet they keep doing it.
Well, and to your point, just quickly, Woody, and a guy you know well, was the best they've had in that group in terms of got them to the playoffs. They were competitive when they got in there. It had a rough start to the next year, and he's gone, which makes no sense because he stood out as the guy who seemingly had it the right.
You know, I'm old school, and I came from old school. And I first thing I look at teams, and it's a little different check mark for me. And I can ask you guys right now, if you said the Knicks, and it's small, who's the captain of that team as a player? Who even goes up to the captain circle for the New York Knicks as a player?
I'm going to guess Marcus Morris.
That's see what I mean? I mean, there's
someone 6'9" or above.
But
guaranteed.
I mean, just saying, you usually notice who's the captain of this team. They haven't had that in about 4 or 5 years because it's all turned around. There have been some great players, but they never know their roles as who's the leader, who's this. And that's the one thing as I looked at the Knicks. You've been questioning from top to bottom from a long time now.
Yeah, and be fair, luck also plays in a small way, but when you turn franchises around, and I'm not taking anything away from R.J. Barrett, who I think is going to be a good player, but you think about John Morant, right? It's forget Zion even for a second. It's a one-pick difference. The way Morant plays, you think about 7th Avenue, what would the Garden be like? I'm not saying necessarily it fixes anything, but just the beginnings of, wow, maybe that's a piece, right? Maybe, okay, we know that they don't even have, no offense to Barrett, they don't have, where's that guy? We don't know who that guy has been in the last how many years.
I can't put that on R.J. Barrett, though. I cannot,
No, I like R.J. Barrett.
I like him, too.
But here's the thing. Yeah, you can talk about the luck of it. They would have gotten Zion Williamson. It would have been lipstick on a pig. If you're going to run your organization like that, it's not going to work. No one can win without talent. Some organizations can't win with it. If you're going to run your organization like that, it's not going to work. Look, Jerry Krause years ago got criticized for saying organizations win championships. And I understand why he was criticized, because at the end of the day, players win championships. But number one, you have to go get the players. You have to put them in an environment. I'm going to agree with what Jerry Krause said. The best organizations have sustainable winning. Look at San Antonio. We're talking about them being back in the playoff race. Is it because of their talent? No, it's because of the culture they've built and everything else. We have the examples in the league.
I mean, the Miami Heat.
Yes.
Great example.
Guess what?
What Spo has done.
Who's the captain of that team? He doesn't even play. Udonis Haslem.
Yeah, but we know that.
We know that.
And the Heat, Spoelstra's been in that organization for 25 years with Pat Riley. I'm saying what gets me, Casey, is you can look around and you can see that the people who build a culture and have continuity and buy in, that it works. And yet you have organizations that don't do it.
Think about it this way, too. If you look at where this franchise is right now, look, whether New York is the mecca of basketball or I'm not, and I'm from there, I'm not saying that it is. That building, the greatest building ever, not saying it is. But it was an environment that was one of the stages in sports, not just the game, for this team. Of all the four major sports, right? Cleveland Browns, but then they sort of got better. The Clippers aren't that anymore. Where are you looking at a team that gets made fun of more, looked at the way they are? They have become more of a running joke. Meta World Peace, love him, comes out and says, I'll coach the team. I'm from the block. And that's on the cover of all these websites, not because it's real, but because the people who are even editing the sports sites want to make fun of this team.
You just put up that graphic, last 20 seasons.
Yeah.
40%.
That's not good.
Last 20. You didn't say last 2, last 5, last 10. You said last 20 seasons.
Yeah, there it is right there. Thanks for reminding us.
Okay. I'm not trying to rub it in.
But here's the thing. Davis Bertans or Dwayne Dedman or Bryn Forbes, Sparty, all these guys, if they go to the Knicks, who are they? They get to blossom and grow and learn how to win from the culture, right, Smitty? And right, Stan, of the Spurs. Look at Golden State, the Kevon Looneys of the world, the guys we've seen grow beyond what they were supposed to be. The Knicks and organizations that lose. Look at the Suns now that Monty Williams is there.
Well, I was watching tonight the Golden State Warriors. We know they're pretty much can't win games right now, Stan. Draymond was playing extremely hard and competing. That's the culture that's been set. They don't have a lot of talent, but they still come out and play Warriors basketball.
But you have to, Eric Spoelstra's comment tonight, I'm going to go back to, it takes time to build things. Yeah, sometimes a Monty Williams can go in with new players like Ricky Rubio and Aaron Baines and make a drastic turnaround overnight. But most of the time, it's going to take time. Look at Philadelphia. Give them credit for a lot of things, okay? They didn't hit on a lot of those picks and everything else. They stuck with Brett Brown. They went through the rebuild. Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, they grew up in a system. They knew how they were supposed. It hasn't changed since they've been there. They got a chance to develop and become players. It wasn't, new coach, new system every year that they had to adapt to. You've got to give your players a chance.
And even
I would say another
coaches,
organization.
You have to give players.
Dallas Mavericks with Rick Carlisle.
Yes.
Great.
Yep.
They've had some bad seasons. But
the Miami Heat, look, they've been up. Spoelstra's won championships. He's missed the playoffs. Same thing happened when Pat Riley was the head coach. Mickey Harrison's not pulling the trigger and firing those guys. No, we have a culture. It works. Does it mean it'll work all the time? No, but if we stick with it and get the right people, it's going to work. The Knicks don't believe in that. They want the next miracle worker. Like right now, where are they? Does anyone believe Mike Miller's going to be here next year?
No.
No, so
again, for them to find someone else.
So yeah,
right?
no, Mike Miller's coming in, and who knows how long he's going to be there.
That's why I said years ago, and Smitty and everybody, Mark Jackson, at the time, Pat wasn't even a head coach in college. could have been his assistant. These are the guys who understand what it was like when you won there, what it meant. They would know what it takes to win from a player standpoint and a coaching standpoint, and at least be able to say, hey, look, it's going to take a while, but you know who we are. We'll be straight up with you. You be the same with us, and we grow together. It's like a GPS versus Google Maps, right? I don't care if it takes longer, Smitty, as long as I know where I'm going.
But what you just said, though, is going to take a while.
Of course.
You can put Belichick and Pop
together. It'll take 5
together.
years.
You can put Belichick and Pop
Absolutely.
together. But if you don't give them enough time to develop the culture, it's not going to work. You didn't give Fizz enough time.
No. Right.
Well,
look what Cleveland did with Belichick. They didn't give him time in Cleveland. You know, listen, everybody's looking for that miracle worker, okay? That's not the way things work most of the time.
People forget, and I don't clearly, because the Mets were one of Joe Torre managed 2 teams before all the Yankee years, right? Terry Francona, Phillies. Most of the great coaches, Belichick, Browns, a lot of these guys had you need players too. So the architecture hasn't really been there. And right now they've got 6 kitchens and no living rooms.
There's been some instances where you see players just shut down.
Yes.
And you got to make something happen, whether it's right or wrong. You didn't see that with the Knicks players. They kept playing hard. They just lost. They weren't good enough, and they didn't have a style of play yet. They were still playing hard for Fizdale, and none of those guys were coming out in the media and also complaining about Fizz.
And we're taking one of the hardest working players in the history of the franchise in Oak, but we throw him out of the building, and we'll keep these guys. In the meantime, here's from some social media. Our own Reggie, of course. Kick a man while he's down, Reg. Happy for Coach Fizdale. Good man. Dealt a terrible hand with the Knicks. Not the only one who should be shown the door. Hashtag Knicks stink.
I think he was saying he happy getting out that situation. I know Fizz.
Oh, no, that's exactly what I'm saying.
I feel that way.
That's exactly
that's what I said.
As a matter of fact, I started on the earlier game time tonight. I said, I'm sending out my condolences to Mike Miller.
Well, and I mean, for Fizz, think about all the stress, and now maybe Meta World
I'm happy
is the perfect guy for the job.
I'm unhappy for Mike Miller. I mean, he's the one.
Is Frederick Weiss available? Does he
who's
want
in the middle of this mess?